So we've reached the end of section 11 and we've now implemented Formic into our application. And if we just review the learning goals of what we've done here, we've implemented forms with Formic and we've taken a look at Formic's API and we've really cleaned up our code inside our form, along with adding validation with Formic and Yup as well. And we've also helped ourselves by creating reusable form inputs. So whenever we need a form in our application, it's pretty easy to go and use the reusable inputs that we've created. And if you're using Formic and Semantic UI in another application, then you can literally take what we've done here and apply it directly to that application as well. Obviously, you would need to be using Formic and you would need to be using Semantic UI. If you were using something else for your styling framework, then you would need to refactor those inputs to do whatever you want them to do. But the principles would stay the same. So just one frequently asked question, do we need client-side validation? Our API is already doing this. And DRY stands for do not repeat yourself. Now, validation on the server, it's essential. You do not want to take bad data and let it pollute your database. And your API, or your server, is your last line of defense against bad data. Now, I mentioned before you can have validation at many different levels, even at the database level as the very last line of defense. We haven't done that in our application. I didn't consider it necessary because our API is perfectly capable of validating the data we receive from the client. Now, validation on the client is a nice to have because you can prevent them from submitting bad data at the client side level. There's little point in them sending up a request to your API only to have it rejected when you can do that same rejection without them leaving the client application. So it's considered a nice to have. And it's super easy to work around, by the way, of course, because they just don't have to use your client application. They could send up bad data using Postman or many other tools. That's why the validation on the server is absolutely essential. And I say validation is nice to have on the client. I would consider that pretty much essential as well for those reasons I've just discussed, to prevent the data from being sent to the server in the first place. We're pretty much halfway through the development of our application and we've done all of our work with a single entity with just 6 properties. And we're going to start to change that because up next we're going to take a look at the user side of our application with identity.